To what extent did the Soviet Union benefit from communism? The Soviet Union was founded in 1922, after the Russian Empire ended. It lasted until late 1991. It was the world's first constitutionally communist nation. A few of its most notable leaders include Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. The people of the Soviet Union did not benefit from communism due to the government's forced collectivization of property, censorship of reality, and violent repressions against potential opposition. Now, I know there are people out there who would argue against my thesis, and I do kind of agree. However, I decided to focus my paper on the unbeneficial aspects of the Soviet Union's communist rule, as most of my resources seem to highlight these points. First off, the USSR initiated forced collectivization. People weren't allowed private property, resulting in peasants suffering the most whilst those in the minority upper class benefited. Before collectivization, farmers and workers worked for their own profits. They could keep anything they made and sell whatever was extra. However, after collectivization, everything they produced was turned in to be distributed by the state. This was not good at all because those who lived in the outskirts of Russia barely got any food, whereas those who lived in cities had more than enough. Ironically, it was the peasants living outside of cities who produced food, yet they suffered the most. Second, let's talk about kulaks. The kulaks of the Soviet Union did not benefit at all because the government deported them to labor camps in order to eliminate their resistance. From 1930 to 1933, more than 2 million kulaks were deported and placed into special settlements, which were basically gulag prisons. Most of the deportees were children less than 16 years of age. Children were being sent away to do hard labor just because they were born as kulaks. The transportation used was straight up bad. On the trains, sanitary facilities were non-existent and people got sick from living in their own excrement. Kulaks were dying before even reaching the prisons. All this highlights how brutal the communist government was against their own subjects. Lastly, through the manipulation of fear and paranoia within society, the USSR effectively controlled all of its people to submit to the government. Russians did not benefit due to the government's eradication of social privacy and trust. Everyone lived in constant fear of being denounced for something they didn't mean to do or something they never even did. The Soviet Union's executive committee even set quotas for the police to detain and kill. Many innocent lives were lost purely because police authorities were trying to fulfill orders. According to the wife of a USSR poet, Ussr, some forms of torture the government used included, quote, lack of sleep, bright light shining in the eyes, poor food, physical beating, and deliberate telling of lies to confuse the prisoner and make them more anxious. Innocent men and women confessed to the most outlandish crimes, end quote. And it wasn't only normal people who fell victim. Ranking Soviet leaders such as Nikolai Yezhov, Stalin's puppet who directed the mass killings and promoted terror, they were also eliminated by Stalin himself. No one in society was safe. From the highest official to the lowest peasant, anyone could be thrown in prison. Also, in 1922, Lenin had set up the Glavlit, a central censorship bureau. The government had total control over the media. Eventually, no foreign publications, except pro-communist ones, were distributed. Russians had zero connections to the outside world. Reality was manipulated for people to think the way the government wanted them to think. The people of Russia did not benefit from communism at all. The ordinary peasants never got their lost property and land back. Along with this, millions of kulaks were killed by the government's ambition to power. Everyone was forced to live in a society of terror, and everything was censored so that most people did not understand or could not attempt to understand about the reality they were in. The government used communism to solidify its power, and ignored the people's suffering. Hence, communism was bad for the Russian people. From writing this research paper, I grew a lot as a scholar. It helped improve my analytical thinking skills as I was trying to link all my evidence together. I was also able to learn some smaller details that we did not cover in class. Overall, I'm pleased with what I accomplished and that I can walk away from this assignment and tell someone, hey dude, did you know the USSR transported kulaks using boats that were originally meant to be for livestock? Thank you.